Hi guys, Adam from Mildos Panel Builders, and today we're going to be going over our new GI 275 EIS Quick Kits. So the GI 275 EIS Quick Kits are designed to save you, the installer, time installing these systems and any headache or frustration that might come along. In these kits we have a full harness for the GI 275 and GEA 24, as well as add-on sensor harnesses that you purchase with our sensor packs. Let's go ahead and unbox this and show you what comes inside. Okay, so this is the main box for the EIS Quick Kit. So the first thing that we've got here is our installation guideline. This here has aircraft information, sensor information, and then we actually put the sensor ranges in here as well. These are the diagrams that come with it. So everything's all laid out nicely in case any troubleshooting ever has to happen later on down the road. We have a bag with a flash drive in it. This flash drive has all the instructions, including these documents over here, as well as FAA paperwork. So we've got a templated 337 form, as well as a templated logbook entry for this installation. And then here is the main harness set. So if we peel open the bag, so this is a 6-cylinder harness kit. Pull everything out of here. So first we've got our thermocouple harness. So this is all 6 EGTs and CHTs. This here is the GI 275 harness with the USB already done on it, as well as a Ethernet and RS-232 connection. This here is our temperature and pressure connector. So this has all of the engine oil temperature and pressure and fuel pressure and also fuel flow. This is our miscellaneous connectors, so this is fuel levels as well as battery and bus voltage. And this is our main GEA 24 power connector with the mating RS-232 to the GI 275. So one of the things that we do with the harnesses is we actually put connectors on for the different sensors, like for example manifold pressure or fuel pressure. That way if you don't need them, you just don't plug them in, and then the mating harness that would come with the sensor you don't have, so you don't have a bunch of extra wire bundled up. And then also for things like RPM, where you can either do a transducer pickup on the magneto or where you can pick up off the P leads. We have different harnesses for those, so it makes it easy just to select the one that you want, plug it in, and then wire it up in the aircraft. So let's have a look at that. So here's our connectors here. These are just mate and lock connectors. So for example, we've got manifold pressure, and then I've got the mating harness for manifold pressure over there. And I'll show you real quick too. You can see we've actually got a label on here that says manifold pressure, and then we tell you power, signal, and ground on labels too. So that way it's pretty easy to see what's what. So we'll go ahead and plug in our mate and lock here for the manifold pressure sensor. So that's plugged in. And then I've got another one, we've got fuel pressure, so we'll go ahead and just plug that one in. And you can see, again, we got a label on both sides. Makes it very easy to identify everything and get it all plugged in. Another thing that we complete for you guys already as well is when it comes to the resistive fuel level interfaces or the P-lead TAC interfaces, we actually already pre-wire those resistors in for you. In the fuel level interface, we are compatible with the more recent airworthiness directive that had come out on these, so we're already ahead of that. Now that we've looked through the harnesses, let's look through the sensor kits and the GI 275 kits in case you guys aren't aware of what's in those, and then we'll move over to installing this into the aircraft. All right, so here's the Garmin boxes here. So the GI 275 box comes with the 8130 form, comes with the data package, so you get a complimentary database update, which isn't really all that useful on the EIS one anyways, because you don't have maps. But they give it to you. A little cleaning cloth, a warranty registration card, and a quick reference guide for the cockpit. You get the STC registration card that you're going to need. And then we've got some sealed air here, and then inside the unit, or inside the plastic bag there, we have the unit. Also, what's really nice that comes with these is these little instrument doublers. So if you have a thin panel, or you know, if you just need a little bit extra support, you can put these doublers on and then mount it into the panel, and then that makes life a little bit easier for you. Okay, so now we'll move on to the GEA24. This one's pretty simple. Now you notice there's no connector kits in these boxes. That's because we already have them on the harnesses, so we pull them out when we build these. So GEA24 is pretty simple. Again, little plastic bag here. And then we've got the unit. Now this you do not want to mount on the hot side of the firewall. You want to put it inside the cabin somewhere. In this case on the Cherokee 6, we're going to actually put it inside the nose luggage compartment. And then we have our sensor kit. So another 8130 form. We've got all of our EGT and CHT sensors. This is an oil temperature sensor. Over here we've got the pressure sensors, like something like this. So this is our 30 psi absolute manifold pressure sensor. So all that's in here, and then all of these are going to come with these add-on sensor kits that we showed you a little bit earlier. So before we proceed with the installation, let's have a look at the installation guide real quick to see what's in here and how it's going to help you. So on the front page here, we've got the aircraft information as well as the serial number boxes for the GI-275 and GEA-24. So this is things like aircraft make, model, tail, serial number, engine information, tack hours, Hobbs hours, all that stuff. It's actually this stuff's going to be useful for the GI-275 anyways, and the rest of this will be useful for return to service. Over here, we've got the required equipment page. So this is where you check off all the different sensors that you're going to be using. So for example, this aircraft is fuel injected and it needs a fuel pressure sensor. So we check off fuel pressure and we check off injected. And that's the part number, which will be useful when you're actually doing the configuration later. As we move on through the pages, you can see here, this is where we actually will put in our gauge ranges. So for example, oil pressure, you know, maybe your minimum red line is, let's say 24 psi, so you'd write that in there. If you have a yellow range, you write it in there, green range, a high yellow range, and a maximum line. So you put all that information on these. We also have that for the ammeter, fuel quantities, fuel flow, anything that's applicable. We've also got some additional comments, so we've got a couple notes of our own in here, and then the rest of this is for notes for you to write in if you need to make any notes about what you did on this installation. Then on the final page, we've got an explanation of all the files that are on the flash drive, as well as the installation checklist. So when you're done installing this, you're going to do the system configuration, which is in installation manual section 5. You're going to do the checkout, which is in section 6. You're going to do the STC configuration log, which is in the maintenance manual appendix A. You're going to print these logs and put them in the logbook. Then you're going to complete the flight manual supplement, and these are all the sections that you have to complete. Then we have the 337 form, the logbook entry, and then place the pilot's guide in the aircraft. So with the configuration of this item, when you purchase this from us, we will program the sensors in for you automatically based on what you had ordered, and then leave that in there so that all you have to do is put the gauge ranges in. If you don't want to configure anything, we will actually do this for you. This is usually a $99 service. However, if you order during the week of Sun and Fun this year in 2022, we'll actually waive that and you'll get the configuration completely for free. So as you can see from the installer's point of view, this is going to make your installation a lot easier and a lot simpler. We've got all of the STC documentation on the flash drive, including maintenance manual, installation manual, flight manual supplement, and all the other documents. We've also got on there another copy of our diagrams as well as the hard copy that comes with the kit. And then we've got the installation guide to help guide you through getting everything done and getting the aircraft returned to service. Then of course we've got all of our nice harnesses here. We've got all the units. This really should be a 2-day installation at most from the time you get the aircraft to the time the aircraft's back out in the air. All right, so now we're going to begin the installation on this Piper Cherokee 6. We're not going to show everything because most of what we would show is the same as doing any other engine installation, engine monitor installation. So running wires, installing the sensors onto the engine itself, that doesn't really change much. What we will show you though is all the Garmin specific stuff that you're going to have to do and any nuances that we find along the way. Alright, so on this Piper Cherokee 6, this one's got the injected 540. So what we've got on this one is the CHT and EGT sensors. We've got our fuel, oil, and manifold pressure transducers. We've got the fuel pumped version of the fuel flow sensor. This is the red cube installed. And then all the wires are zip tied and terminated, and they're going through the firewall to the GEA24. And to recap the installation as a whole, we've got the GEA24 on this aircraft in particular, our Cherokee 6, installed in the nose luggage compartment. We ran the wires out to the firewall so that they could get hooked up to the sensors. We ran the power and ground, RS-232 and fuel quantity wires into the cabin to get those terminated where they belong. We got the GI-275 harness installed with its powers and grounds terminated, and then now we're going to install the GI-275 itself and get it configured based on our installation guideline that we filled out a little bit earlier. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our first startup of the instrument. Since this aircraft just did get out of a maintenance event, the first thing we're going to do is make sure all of our circuit breakers are pushed in. So I'll do that, and then we'll boot up the aircraft. Now, one thing to make sure of is that when you start up your instrument, you hold in the inner knob so that the instrument can boot into configuration mode. So we'll do that now. Okay, so we're met with a message saying that we are in config mode, so we'll hit accept. Now, one thing is we actually have other 275s in this aircraft already, so this one's set up a little bit differently. Also, this aircraft got our configuration service ahead of time, so this is actually already pre-configured, but we'll go ahead and just show you how you would get to these pages if you're going to do it yourself. So the first thing is we've actually got the USB in here that has the configuration on it. And so when you're done, you're going to want to actually export your config to it. So I'll just save it right now as EIS and export. Okay, so the config export's complete. Now, to be honest, this is something you want to do at the very end, but it's an important step to note, and it's one of the first options on the GI-275. So now we'll hit the complete button, and we'll go back, and we'll start the configuration. So in the unit type, you want to make sure that under unit configuration, the instrument type is EIS. Then we come down to our interfaces. The first item of note is that if you have a GPS hooked up, so in this case the 275 is already getting it, so we have that. But if you have a 530 or 430 or a GTN series or the 2-inch Navigator series, you want to make sure you select that as appropriate on here. Or if you have the Glare Shield mount VFR antenna, you can select that in there as well. Then the next item is EIS1. Make sure that the interface is GEA24 and that the port's set correctly. This we would already have set for you. Now we can come down to the EIS page, and we can see the first option is engine. So single engine, 6 cylinders, and we already have our hours and everything programmed in, but under engine power here, this is how we get our percent horsepower on the main screen. Sensors, again, we would already have this pre-programmed for you, but this is where you would do that. So manifold pressure, oil temperature, all that kind of stuff. Pages, there's not a whole lot to do except for you can set on your full-time gauges the order between manifold pressure and RPM. On this aircraft, the manifold pressure is on the left and RPM's on the right, so we're going to maintain that configuration. And then the extra info we're going to set to percent power. CHT EGT page, leaning source EGT, or if you had turbine inlet temperature, you'd set it to that. And you can even go advanced and set, your temperature increase and drop limits and stuff. I just leave this to default. Now, if we come down to gauges, this is where we program all of the caution and alert and green ranges. So we'll take a look at, let's do fuel pressure. And you can see, this is a substituted value, by the way, but you can see that the high and low, the caution and the green range are set. That's the gauges. And then you also have diagnostics where you can view sensor status. So if you want to just have a look and make sure that everything's reading the way that it's supposed to, you can cycle through this and see all that. Once you're done with the configuration, you're going to want to do that configuration export that we just showed you a little bit earlier, and then we can go restart options. And again, we have two other GI 275s, and they're already in normal mode, so I'll just take this back to normal mode and hit restart, and then we'll wait for that to restart and boot back into pilot mode. Alright, so we're met with our startup screen here. We can see that our timers are presented to us immediately. We've also got the fuel remaining for the totalizer, and then the continue button. So the first thing is, you can see we've already got a caution because we're drawing off the battery, so we can just push either in on the inner knob, or I can tap on the C to cancel the caution, and it'll still come up there, but it won't be flashing in my face anymore. But you can see we've got all of our sensor ranges in here now. We can cycle through the different pages, and we've got our auxiliary page where we can change these to whatever we want. We've got CHT and EGT graph here. We've got our fuel page. Now what's nice is because this is hooked up to a GPS, we can actually get information like our estimated gallons remaining at our destination, or our estimated range remaining at destination. We've got our summary page with all of our timers on it, so total and current flight. That's actually really handy. And then that's it. And then we come back to our main page, which is what you're going to be on most of the time anyways. One thing that we have to do is still calibrate the fuel tanks, so that's why those are red X's. Once you get the fuel tanks calibrated, those will be numbers instead. So one page I wanted to make a note of because it has some pretty cool features is our CHT EGT page. So currently we're in monitor mode. If I turn the inner knob here, now we're in lean assist mode, and then the other one's normalized mode. So normalized mode, you would use this when you're flying along and you're cruising. And when you switch to normalized, it gets all of your graphs on the same line. And then that way, if one cylinder drops out or gets really hot for some reason, it becomes a lot more obvious that one cylinder is a little bit hotter or cooler than it should be. So with the lean assist mode, unfortunately I can't show you anything on the ground right now, but when we do our flight demo of this, I'll try to show that. But it makes it really nice to be able to properly lean your engine, rich or lean of peak, depending on how you operate. And what's cool with the 275 that most of the other ones don't do, is it also shows you your fuel flow delta. So it shows you when you're at peak, how much more or less you're burning per hour from that point. Another thing that's cool on this page is we have a shock cooling indicator. So over on the left side here, there's two blue arrows that will come up. So the first blue arrow is like a cautionary thing that you're cooling a little too fast. And the second blue arrow, when that comes up, you really have to be careful because you're potentially shock cooling your engine. So a lot of people will time it, an inch per minute or so. This will be a good way to make sure that you're following a good schedule to cool off your engine as you reduce power. Alright, so that's a brief overview of the configuration and some of the features of the GI 275 EIS. Our last step's to calibrate the fuel tanks, and then when the weather cooperates with us in sunny Michigan here, we'll go ahead and take this out for a flight and do a demo of some of the features in flight like lean assist. So with the GI 275s installed and configured, now it's time to take the aircraft out of the hangar and do the engine run, and that'll be the last step before we return the aircraft to service and it starts flying again. So I'd like to bring attention to the fact that any AMP can do this. So all of the wires are pre-done for you. All of the labels are plain English for you to read, and they're all referenced in the diagram, which is very easily laid out. This won't be hard for you to do. Everything that you need is in here. And then additionally, we provide all of the return to service paperwork templates for you as well, so you don't even have to do much work there. You can expect to have this turned around in about a couple of days. Alright, so the installation's done. So this video is the installer's perspective. The next thing that we're going to do, as we've mentioned, is the ground run and test flight, but unfortunately the weather's not going to cooperate with us today to do that. So we'll be back out here to accomplish that and have the airplane ready to go. So look out for the next video, which we're going to take from the pilot's perspective and show you a couple features of the 275 in flight. And then we'll also have the maintainer's perspective and show you how the engine logs through Garmin Pilot can be downloaded and how you can use that to help diagnose any issues that you may have with your engine throughout its life. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next video. We'll also be at Sun and Fun 2022 with these kits at booth D74, so it's Hangar D, and we'll have some of them there available. Go to gi275.com if you want more information on these kits. Also, you can purchase them there as well. And be sure to subscribe for the next video and ring the bell so you get notified when it comes out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.